So I'm going to talk a little bit about my project studying in Augsburg, or let's say higher education in Augsburg, and why I chose this subject and the steps I went through to reach the final design that I have done. So to begin with, the beginning, since I'm an exchange student and it was my first time to do an exchange semester outside of my home country, so I was quite interested in knowing how the education system works in Germany. So I started to research and go all over the education system, including the schools, not only the higher education. And I found out that it was a very, very complicated system. So I discussed it with my professor, and then we decided to only work on the higher education in Augsburg, which is what I am doing now, my bachelor program. So it started with searching for the main institutes and main universities that offer different certificates and degrees here in Augsburg. So I've come down to 5 institutes and universities. And then I started to read more into each and every institute to know what they offer, what they have, the number of students, and all the stuff, all the information to gather and collect the information. And then I started to categorize them into categories. For example, like how many faculties, how many majors they have, the number of students, the location, and all that stuff. And then I went to the process of the first step into starting to design the thing, let's say, before I decided that it was going to be a brochure, to the project itself. So I had 5 categories. The first one is the number of students. The second one is how far from the Hauptbahnhof would it be. And the third one is the number of faculties, majors, and the degrees offered by each institute. And lastly, the contact information for each one. And then I started to think about what would be a way to put all this information together in a not complicated and easy way for the user to read all this information, especially for students who are not quite sure what they want to study, where they want to study, which subject they want to pursue, or what degree they want. So I decided to have it all in one brochure, which can be maybe given out to students in schools, or maybe given out in exhibitions for universities, and etc. So then I started to visualize the information I have. The approach I wanted to use was infographics, mainly, and illustrations. So I started at first, let's say the first sketches I did was to first design an icon or illustrate an icon for the student or the person. And I started with this right here. The first illustration was a combination of male and female. But then when I started to have it on a smaller scale, it had a lot of repetition. So that was the first thing I wanted to eliminate, basically repetition. So I went to the second stage of the first illustration, which was having just an icon for a student and trying to use background to represent the numbers for each place. And then I got to this idea of having all of them together. But then also I wanted it to be more clear, to send a clearer image and a straightforward image. So I decided to use the same illustration and the same technique, but with to have them separately for each institute. And then secondly, also for the faculties and majors, I had just one icon, but after discussions and feedbacks, it was mainly not to represent actually faculties and majors, and it was not too specific for faculties and majors. So I have changed it to have it as a building and not to emphasize on the illustration, but on the number of, or let's say the background that represents the number, that's what I want to, that is my message basically, not the illustration itself. And then we move to the location, or how far from the Hauptbahnhof. So I had a map of Augsburg, but it was still unclear, so I wanted to simplify it in a way to make it more specific and more detailed into that. So I went to this stage number 2, and then the last stage of having all the information needed of, like, for example, the nearest station, train station or tram station to each institute, and the distance between them, and how much would it take by car, or by walking, by bike, and all the means of transportation that are used. And then I added the contact information. So basically, on the last page is an easier way, instead of someone maybe like would be bothered to like open each and every website. So it collects like all the information needed for the contact information on one page. And to go back a little bit for faculties and majors, I had each separate icon to represent the degrees offered, which are PhD, master's, bachelor, or certificate degrees. So also to make it easier for people who, let's say, are looking for a master's degree, to know where or which institutions that offers the master's degree. And so this is my result. I got a brochure and just the brief on the front page to explain what am I holding, and then all of the information in specific as you go inside through the pages.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Desmond, thank you very much for the great presentation. I really enjoyed it, and but I wonder about the brochure. Where do you think it is going to be used?
Okay, so where would it be used? There are many ways of handing out these brochures and many places. For example, first it can be handed out to graduate students from high school as an early plan for them to start looking and searching for places and things what they want to pursue, for example. Secondly, maybe in a university exhibition, when they have like many different host universities having one exhibition for students to introduce themselves, maybe that brochure would be given out to the students also. Maybe they would even find it like online as an e-brochure. That would be even possible for them.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the information.
Thank you.